cannot believe we are already in February. And what's wild is that just over a week ago, I brought y'all along as I was prepping for single digit wind chills we had. And today it's in the 80s. Like, what? February is a busy planting time for us here in Zone 9. It marks the beginning of the start of the growing season. And so I'm gonna share with you all 15 crops, maybe more, I didn't really count them all, on what you should be planting this month. And I'll break down whether you should be planting them as transplants or you should be starting them from seed. I'll also give you tips on how to amend the soil to set them up for success, as well as a few other tips along the way. And so, let's go. The first are strawberries. Yes, you can successfully grow strawberries here in Texas, and late winter is a perfect time to grow them because our ground doesn't freeze and it gives the roots time to develop before it gets too hot. And a lot of people actually struggle with growing strawberries successfully, and I get it. They can be a little bit finicky. They like a nutrient-rich, well-draining, sandy, loaming soil that's slightly acidic. In order to achieve this, I will amend my soil with a bit of sand and or perlite. I like sand because it's readily available and it's inexpensive. However, sand can become heavy and compacted over time, especially if you're growing in something like a container. And so in those instances, I prefer to amend with perlite, and sometimes I'll even use a combination of both. I'll also amend with compost as well as a well-balanced slow-release organic fertilizer. However, because strawberries likes a soil that's slightly acidic, I will amend with a bit of a soil acidifier. One of the biggest challenges I've faced with growing strawberries have been the pests, specifically snails, slugs, pill bugs, and of course, the birdies. And so last year, I actually started growing my strawberries in my green stalk. And I love it because not only is it vertical, so it saves space, but it also keeps the berries off the ground and away from a lot of the pests. I had great success growing it in my green stock. I also love that during the hottest part of the summer here in Texas, I can actually roll my green stock to a more shaded area to ensure that my strawberries summer over. So highly recommend giving growing your strawberries in a green stock a try. Let me know if you'd like me to do a tutorial on how I do that and how I set that up. Also, if you're interested, I have a promo code of $10 off your purchase of $75 or more at green stock. No pressure, but it's there if you need it. The next thing you should be planting as transplants are brassicas. So this is going to include things like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. And February is prime planting season for these crops because it allows the plants to grow and really develop before it starts to get too hot. These are cooler season crops, and so once the Texas sun starts to really turn up the heat, these plants typically will struggle and start to bolt. Some brassicas, like kale, are more tolerant to the heat and will actually last a little bit longer in the season as temperatures rise. Most of your brassicas are going to be heavier nitrogen feeders. And because of this, I like to amend my soil with compost. And I prefer composted chicken manure when I'm planting crops that are more nitrogen heavy. That's because composted chicken manure has a higher nitrogen content than other types of compost like mushroom or cow manure. Additionally, I will amend the soil with a fertilizer that's higher in nitrogen. Sometimes, depending on the crop, I might also add in a bit of blood meal, which is pure nitrogen. As it gets hotter, you want to be able to provide your brassicas with some level of shade during the hotter part of the day. This can be by covering them with some shade cloth, or if you're growing in containers, it's even easier. You can just move them to an area in the garden that's a bit more shaded. So the sun, as we all know, if you're in the northern hemisphere, rises in the east and sets in the west. So the eastern sun is going to provide the softest sunlight, and the western sun is going to have the harshest sunlight. Next are taters, and I almost forgot about potatoes. Like, this was the time. I literally was going online to place an order on some site to buy seed potatoes, and they were $11.99 for a half a pound. And I just so happened to stop by my local feed store, and I saw that they had potatoes out, and I bought 7 pounds of potatoes. 7 pounds, y'all. I paid $9.46 for 7 pounds, taxes included. Needless to say, them other potatoes are staying in cart. It's just a friendly reminder of why I love shopping local, supporting local business and nurseries. Not only are you supporting a local business in your local economy, but most times they're a lot more cost effective, and they're going to have varieties that are proven to thrive well in your area. So go support your local nursery or feed store. I haven't decided how I'm going to plant my potatoes. Last year I did a potato growing experiment, which I will link below, and had some interesting results. And so I don't know if I'm going to do another experiment or if I'm just going to put them in a container and call it a day. Potatoes are heavy feeders and they love a nutrient-rich soil. So I always amend my soil with compost and a well-balanced fertilizer. If you do want to get nitpicky about it, potatoes do prefer a fertilizer that is higher in potassium, so the K and the NPK. But I have found just using a well-balanced fertilizer works just fine. In my potato growing experiment last year, I had toyed with using different type of fertilizers as well as amending with sulfur or not, because potatoes like a slightly acidic soil. And so I may amend again with the sulfur because I did like the results that the potatoes had that were grown in sulfur. But for simplicity's sake, compost, well-balanced fertilizer, you're golden. The next are peas, specifically sweet peas, sugar snap peas. So like Little Marvel, Big Daddy Snap, Sugar Snap, those peas, not specifically the cow peas, which are Texas tough when it comes to the heat, and we're not quite at the time to plant those yet. And for my peas, I prefer to direct sow. That is because peas are really finicky with having their roots disturbed. So if you are going to transplant, you want to make sure you do so with care. However, at this point in the season, you are better off just direct sowing. A quick tip to help improve your germination rate for your peas: the outer shell can be quite hard. And so what I like to do is I will soak them overnight to soften them up a bit before planting. Depending on the variety of peas that you're planting, they will need some type of support or trellis to climb up. The next are leeks, and I find that leeks, it's a lot more forgiving than onions because they don't actually bulb. We have a little bit more leeway in terms of how late we can plant them and how long they will grow throughout the season. So February is a prime time to plant leeks. For your leeks, you can plant from seed. However, at this time in the season, it is best that you plant as a transplant. And like onions, leeks are also heavy nitrogen feeders. So again, I will amend the soil with compost, preferably composted chicken manure, and a fertilizer higher in nitrogen. Next is lettuce. And so a lettuce is probably one of the easiest crops you can grow. It's also one of those plants, if you're having trouble figuring out like what to plant together with what goes with what, I know that's always a common question. Lettuce is known as like the BFF of plants. It gets along with practically everything. And so if you are not sure, throw some lettuce down. Lettuce is something that I prefer to direct sow. You can also transplant, but I like to really plant my lettuce close together, like compact. I find that they just make room for one another. I don't usually have issues with like fungal disease or anything because it's something I'm constantly harvesting. I usually do the cut and come again method. And for lettuce, I will just amend the soil with compost and a well-balanced fertilizer. And I don't find that I need to do supplemental fertilizing throughout the season because it's easy. A quick tip on growing lettuce here in zone 9: as we get warmer into the season, I recommend looking for slow bolting varieties of lettuce, and I'll put a few varieties that I grow for reference. Also, I'm often asked like where I get my seeds from, and I buy from a variety of different seed shops, but hands down, one of my favorite seed shops is Seed Therapy. Used to actually be called Southern Seeds, but they recently underwent a name change. They are Texas based, they are veteran owned, they are family owned in Frisco, Texas. They're based in Frisco, Texas, where actually I used to live there. So shout out to my peeps in Frisco, DFW. And so highly recommend them. They have over 1,000 varieties of vegetables, flowers, and herbs to choose from. And so I will link their shop below. Highly recommend. Next are beets. Now y'all know how I feel about beets. I don't like them. I think they taste like dirt. That and the next one. I'll just do a twofer: beets and radish. I think they both taste like dirt. Specifically, radish tastes like spicy dirt. No bueno for me. But my mom loves beets, so I always plant them. And I'm also planting sugar beets this year because I want to try a stab at making sugar. So we'll see how that goes. Beets are a lot heavier feeders than radish. Amend soil with compost, well-balanced fertilizer. Y'all know the drill. Radish, I find, is not particularly heavy of a feeder compared to beets, and so I find if I just amend it with compost and maybe a little bit of well-balanced fertilizer, it does just fine. Next is spinach. So spinach is one where it is very finicky. It tends to bolt really quickly when temperatures start to rise, and so February is the perfect time to get your spinach in the ground. The spinach I had put out, y'all, when I showed you all the plants I covered and didn't when we got into single digits, I did not cover my spinach, and it took those single digit wind chills like a champ. Spinach is best direct sown. They're really finicky with having their roots disturbed, so if you are going to transplant, do so with caution. Spinach is a heavier nitrogen feeder in comparison to something like lettuce, so again, y'all know the drill. I'm in with compost, I'm in with a fertilizer that's higher in nitrogen. Next is chard. If you all have seen any of my videos, y'all know my chard is the real MVP, the OG. It lasts through the summer heat. It lasts through the frost. I intentionally did not cover it because I wanted it to die back, because it's crazy. It is a soldier. It is one of the greens, leafy greens. When we are in peak summer and you are looking for leafy greens, when spinach and most lettuce varieties have tapped out, grow some chard. Chard, I find, is not finicky. I just amend the soil with compost and a well-balanced, slow-release organic fertilizer. There's a running theme here. Next is celery. So at this stage in the season, you absolutely want to transplant your celery. Celery is also a cool season crop, and so when the temperatures start to rise, they will start to struggle and bolt. I do find, however, celery reseeds itself pretty well. So if you plant celery once, you likely will never have to plant it again. Celery is a heavy nitrogen feeder. So again, amend with compost, preferably for me, composted chicken manure, as well as a fertilizer higher in nitrogen. Celery is also incredibly thirsty. So you want to make sure you do not let your celery dry out. It needs constant moisture. However, with that being said, you don't want the soil to become waterlogged, just moist. I know, I hate that word too, y'all, but I couldn't think of a better one, okay? Next are carrots. Carrots is one of my favorite crops to grow because they become sweeter when they get hit but a bit of frost. You always want to direct sow your carrot, y'all. Please do yourself a favor. Do not set yourself up for failure by transplanting carrots. If you ever see carrots for sale at a nursery in a pot for transplant, just walk away, y'all. Just don't do it. You're not going to be happy with the results. These are one of the few crops where I'm like, no, do not choose your story. Do not choose your journey. Just don't do it. Direct sow your carrots. I find that they do well in soil that is just amended with a bit of compost and a well-balanced organic fertilizer. The next are herbs. There are a ton of herbs you can be planting in February, from cilantro to thyme, dill, parsley, sage, lovage. The list goes on and on. Last but not least, and it's my favorite thing to plant, like I am obsessed this time of year, are fruit trees. I literally have a problem. Late winter, hands down, is one of the best times to plant fruit trees here in Texas in Zone 9. Because our ground doesn't freeze, it gives the plants the ability to set roots and hanker down before the Texas heat kicks things up. I should also mention, when I say fruit trees, I am also including fruiting shrubs like blackberries, blueberries. There are a multitude of fruit trees and shrubs that do really well here in the Houston metro area. Some of my favorites include peaches, mulberries, figs, and the list goes on and on and on. When you're planting a fruit tree, you are in it for the long haul. A few tips with planting fruit trees. If you are planting in ground in the native soil, you want to dig a hole that's at least about 1.5 times the size of the tree's root ball. You also want to take the time to really loosen up the soil to the best of your ability, especially if you have clay soil like we do here in the Houston metro area. I backfill the hole with native soil and top dress it with a thick layer of compost and mulch. At this point, you don't need to fertilize your trees. Both the mulch and compost will break down over time and give a steady flow of nutrition. Additionally, this will encourage the tree's roots to branch down deep into the soil in search of the nutrients they need. And a bonus are your flowers, y'all. I feel like a lot of people overlook the importance of flowers in their garden. February is a time where I'm just like the seed fairy, and I just go sprinkling a little bit of this, a little bit of that throughout my garden to see what comes up. It can be a lot of fun. A lot of times I don't label it, so it's like Christmas. And so as you plant warmer season crops later on the season, like your cucumbers, squash, melons that actually need the pollinators to pollinate to produce fruit, they'll already be in your garden. So you want to plant your flowers ahead of the time that you're planting these warmer season crops so they have time to grow and bloom and attract the pollinators, and so they can come and be like, okay, at home now. So even though it's 80 today, I'm reminded of this thing we have here in Texas called fall spring. And so every year in February, usually we have these like a few weeks where it's like 70 and 80 degrees, and it's like, okay, it's time to put out the tomatoes. And then we'll have a random like cold front where we get down to the 20s. And so I've learned my lesson to just wait it out. So hopefully you are getting out this season and go to gross. I love you too, Rich. There's always room to do better, to learn more. I'm still learning. And if you haven't already, don't forget to check out my seed starting masterclass. Part 1 in the series, part 2 is coming out, will probably be in the next week or two. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my free monthly newsletter. It is full of gardening tips and tricks and a little bit more. But until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And remember, every black thumb ripens to green, and it all just starts with a seed.